Hi, my name is Kristen Linthicum, and I'm a graduate student in the Master of Arts in Teaching program at North Carolina State University. I've created a webinar based on the book Teaching with Poverty in Mind, What Being Poor Does to Kids' Brains and What We Can Do About It by Eric Jensen. The premise of this book is to teach us about the impact poverty has on children and what we can do about it. I'd like to share this book with you through 4 key points. What is poverty? What impact poverty has on students' behavior and academic success? The question of whether or not we can reverse the impacts of poverty on the brain? And if so, what factors contribute to that success? I hope you find it as enlightening as I did. The Office of Management and Budget defined poverty as having less income than deemed sufficient to purchase basic needs like food, shelter, clothing, and other essentials. The author of this text understands that poverty is complex and does not mean the same thing to everyone. His definition of poverty is a chronic and debilitating condition that results from multiple adverse synergistic risk factors that affect the mind, body, and soul. Simply put, poverty is not having enough money to purchase the things you need to survive. In this book, Jensen talks about 6 kinds of poverty. Situational poverty, which is generally caused by a sudden crisis and is often temporary. Generational poverty, which refers to situations in which at least 2 generations of a family are born into poverty. These families are typically not equipped with the tools to move above their situation. Absolute poverty, which is rare in the United States and involves a scarcity of necessities needed to survive, such as shelter and running water. Relative poverty, which refers to the status of a family whose income is insufficient to meet the average standard of living. Urban poverty, which refers to metropolitan areas where poor families are faced with inadequate large city resources. And rural poverty, which occurs in non-metropolitan areas where single-parent and single-income homes are frequently unable to access support services. Children living in poverty often face higher crime rates, contaminated air, impure water, and crowded households. At school, they face poorly maintained facilities, less qualified teachers, and higher rates of absenteeism. The impact of poverty can be remembered by using the acronym EACH, which stands for Emotional and Social Challenges, Acute and Chronic Stress, Cognitive Lags, Health and Safety Issues. The figure to the right shows how these adverse conditions in childhood can literally follow a child from birth through death. Emotional and social challenges. Many children in low socioeconomic status homes form weak or anxious attachments as a result of adverse experiences. This means that they possess a more narrow range of appropriate emotional responses. Teachers often equate this with being disrespectful or having poor manners. The truth is, many of these children only have a firm grasp on the emotional responses needed to survive, not socialize. The figure below illustrates how certain basic emotions are hardwired into our brains, like joy and sadness and anger, and others have to be taught. Children growing up in poverty are less likely to have developed a grasp on emotions such as empathy, patience, or gratitude. Acute and chronic stressors. Stress is a physiological response to a lack of or loss of control. Acute stress is a severe stress that results from a trauma or violence. This can sometimes be the result of divorce or eviction. Chronic stress is a high stress that endures for a long period of time. This stems from long-term issues such as abuse or substance use in the home. The most severe impact that stress has on children is that it reduces neurogenesis, which is the formation of new brain cells. Cognitive lags. Lower income children fall behind their well-off counterparts in nearly every developmental domain. This is attributed to development in early childhood and the difference in quality of interactions between the child and caregivers or parents. Children in these situations frequently experience shorter, more simple sentences, less back and forth conversations, fewer questions asked, and fewer explanations given. In terms of language acquisition, reading skills and subskills such as fluency, vocabulary, phonological awareness, and comprehension are taught, which requires someone properly equipped to teach them. Even when low-income parents do everything they can for their children, their limited resources put them at a huge disadvantage. Health and safety issues. Children living in poverty face a multitude of health issues, beginning at birth. Risks of prematurity and low birth weight can be attributed to substance abuse or cigarette smoking, poor nutrition, and lack of health care. What this means for school-aged children is that they experience more tardiness, more absenteeism, longer durations of absenteeism, frequent illness, greater likelihood of asthma and obesity, and undiagnosed disabilities. The question is, can we reverse it? Research shows that 60% of IQ is determined by environmental factors such as home and living conditions, early childhood experiences, schooling, and nutrition. The figure to the right illustrates the results of a research study involving children of low socioeconomic status who were determined to have low IQ prior to adoption. 8 years after being adopted into average or high socioeconomic status families, their IQs gained an average of 13 to 19 points. IQ is not fixed. It is variable, and we can increase the brain's ability to learn a greater amount of content. So how do we do this? Let's refer back to the acronym we talked about earlier, EACH. I'll address some potential action steps in these categories. Emotional and social challenges. Embody respect by using positive discipline, modeling your thinking patterns, and sharing decision-making. Embed social skills by teaching students to greet you and each other, to smile and shake hands and make eye contact. Teach turn-taking. Encourage manner words such as please and thank you. Use inclusive language such as our school. Celebrate effort and offer praise. Acute and chronic stress. Recognize the signs. Absences, inattention, lack of motivation. Alter the environment. Reduce homework stress. Some of these students have parents who work 2 or 3 jobs and are simply not at home to help them. Empower students by teaching conflict resolution, setting goals, and providing responsibilities. Cognitive lags. Build on core skills like attention, memory, and focus. Pinpoint assessments. Does your child struggle because of an undiagnosed hearing or vision issue? Provide hope and support by building positive relationships, and don't forget, lots of affirmation and celebration. Health and safety. Increase health-related services, such as having a physician on site at least once a week. Invite local dentists to visit your classroom, and offer plenty of exercise opportunities. Develop enrichment programs, such as providing tutoring services after absences. Foster close relationships, and educate caregivers about the resources available. Your students may not come into your classroom with appropriate social skills. This is not their fault. They have not been prepared for social interactions, but we can teach those. Model respect and turn-taking. Teach them how to make eye contact, smile, and shake hands. Hold them to high standards. They will rise to meet them. We can change the brain for better. We cannot make children smarter by cramming more content into their brains. Rote memorization does not work. Instead, we nurture the skills that increase the brain's capacity to learn, such as memory, sequencing, motivation, and problem solving. The learning will follow. I'll leave you with 2 quotes from the text that I found incredibly powerful. If life experiences can change poor kids for the worse, can't life experiences also change them for the better? And when you've only got a few hours a week to counter the effects of years of poverty, you can't waste a minute. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.